Alright. Happy belated 4th of July. I'd done the larger stream actually yesterday, and I'd actually posted it for a little bit, but like it just seemed like the intro to it was like super long and convoluted, so I was fiddling around with it and whatnot. In any case, here we are. Um, a while back, I had heard of a concept from Douglas Murray. I don't know if it's original with him. I heard stuff of a similar vein from Roger Scruton, and I think they were tight back in the day. But be that as it may, there's this notion of the Second Dark Age, which is brought on not by a lack of knowledge, but rather by an inundation of knowledge. Hopefully that's the right word. Um, but it seems like the problem we face today is finite body, finite brain, finite abilities, but an infinity of information and stimuli to deal with, or at least a myriad of information and stimuli to deal with. So the question is, like, how do you cope with that? How do you deal with this sea of white noise? How do you eliminate information in mass so that you can focus on what you need to focus on and act in a decisive, efficacious manner? Right? In the good old days, there were naturally occurring barriers. You could think of, like, our perception was what it was. And because it was what it was, we could only see so far and only be affected by so much. Right? You could think of, I think of them as the big three, right? Isolation, insulation, and disparity, right? If a thing is far enough away, the distance mitigates the effect it has upon you. In theory, to a negligible level if it's far enough away, right? Ice or insulation, like if you're outside in the rain versus inside in the rain, if you're inside, it's a lot easier to ignore the rain and to think of it as just, it's nothing, right? If you're outside, not so much. You have to take it into account as a factor. In the same way, you could say disparity or like a size disparity would have the same effect. The anthill that's on your porch that you step on every day when you go to work, well, it has proximity and you're not insulated from it per se, but because of the size disparity, its effect on you is negligible. You could ignore it. It's nothing. Well, our idea of something and nothing is kind of weird and malleable. Let me digress for a second. If you ever thought about it, growing up, your idea of everything and nothing was that like your hometown, your parents, your siblings, your school, and your friends. That was everything at that point in time, and everything else was nothing. Right? It was something you could safely ignore. Although that, I guess, nothing isn't only just that which you can safely ignore. I think it also would denote what you would consider like non-existent entities, maybe as well as like an observable abscess in reality. Like those two would kind of come to that as well. Anyways, where was I? All right. So we had these naturally occurring barriers, but with the march of technology, we are circumventing these barriers, right? Distance, we're coming up with stuff that augments our perception and sight. Like, you get the point, though. And I think along with that, there's this maybe false notion that we should worry about all of these things that maybe we don't necessarily have to worry about, that we should focus on all these things that maybe we shouldn't necessarily focus on. So how do you deal with that? How do you segment infinity into digestible bits that you can, eliminate, and like according to what algorithm do you take a more proactive approach to like a self-imposed isolation? That seems to be the problem of the day. Anyways, hopefully that made sense.